over here on Lunar Crush and see what we have coming in as this number 2 area. Now it's Pundi X. Jumping back over to CoinGecko, we can put in Pundi X into here and get a little bit of the old description about it for us and see what the heck this thing even is. Now this is something that's been around for a lot longer than some of the others, so you can see there's a lot more price action history here, and of course it's had 3 great moves in the recent past, starting over here with the in the very recent past here, starting over here with the initial rise up towards the 0.0005 area, continuing to move on up and capturing 0.0006, then again on up the way and capturing 0.0007. Wow, it is playing it by and painting by numbers over here. Now Pundi X, a lot more chit chat about it in its box down below. Obviously they believe a little bit more in describing what they're up to, as opposed to just kind of saying shiny telephone company, network, fast transactions, 2% max fee. It's definitely the future, which is essentially the underpinnings of what we've got in terms of the description of Telcoin, in terms of what they're willing to put out there currently. Hopefully, of course, they're working on great things behind the scenes, and with a little bit more digging, maybe I'd find that sort of thing out. Now, what's happening over here with Pundi X is the company's working on developing a card, which they're naming the XPass card, which works together with the mobile app and wallet, enabling payments and deposits by card, a familiar medium for most that are pulled from the mobile wallet. In addition, users should be able to see the current market price of each cryptocurrency before paying for goods and services, allowing them to pay with cryptocurrency that brings the best value at the time. This ability to pay for things easily with cryptocurrencies is what will finally give them real value in a widespread sense. That isn't actually, again, setting the heather afire as we look at the likes of Crypto.com, for instance, having started their adventure into this whole world a little bit later on. It goes to show you that sometimes, in terms of like having great vision and ideas and the tenacity to keep working at them throughout bullish and bearish phases in markets, maybe goes slightly against you compared to simply just buying an off-the-shelf domain name for many millions of dollars and seeking that investment. Then, of course, doing what Crypto.com love to do and setting up their own token to then pump it using so-called half-price Bitcoin purchases. What a strategy. They flew from zero to hero. If you are looking to pick up one of these cards where you can pay for your dinner, get cash back and all the rest of it on your cryptocurrency, then you can get one in hand quite quickly and easily by going and signing up to Crypto.com. If you're interested in that, then of course I have an affiliate link in the description down below for you for it if you want to pick one of those things up. Now that's not the only people to do it. The other crypto card services are available, putting more pressure on this so-called talented group of technologists and entrepreneurs. It is, of course, 2021. Everybody that's born in the world is a technologist, in my opinion, these days anyway, whether they kind of know it or not, because my goodness, the future is what happens whether you are prepared for it or not. And then we get it all forced upon us, you know, and you can see it happening because the really silly billies out there at the minute who are going to go on to be the grannies of the future are currently using the likes of Instagram to get $1 million careers for showing off their bottoms, and of course try and explain how to show your bottom off to get $1 million to your granny, and she's not going to understand it. So I guess, you know, we're all technologists at the end of the day. The glaring expectation to this is CEO and founder Zach Cha, who was formerly a HTML games developer, but perhaps this is why he surrounded himself with such a strong team. The president of Pundi X Konstantin Papadimitriou has a long history of founding successful fintech companies and scaling them, which makes him an ideal fit for a project that will need rapid growth and adoption. Again, exactly, it would need it because the likes of Crypto.com might get invented in the meantime if you don't move quickly enough. Isn't that right, Konstantin Papadimitriou? And then we've got Pit Huang, created and sold his first business by the age of 25 and went on to create and sell several more businesses, including one that had over 200 employees. I wonder what age he is now. Let's check out Pit Huang on the Google. Then we'll go over and do some TA because of course, fundamentally, most of the stuff that we'll see here is of course baked into the price action essentially anyway. There he is there. It's hard to tell what age he is from his wee photo. Let's see, does it have any more information about him just here? Okay, well, ADHD is going to have to be the winner here on this one as I get bored looking for that one and just jump back over to the charts. Right, so NPXS is what is the number 2 story of the day over there on the Lunar Crush social rankings chart. Let's just see how this one's looking. Not too dissimilar to the likes, of course, of Dent, making me want to revise what I was saying there when I was kind of having a laugh talking about whale and of course the insiders selling off at the correct times and being savvy and smart about it and using the right levels. Instead, really, we're just kind of seeing this dynamic in the markets, and what it really signals is a degree of exuberance, which is of course exploding up the way, and then smart money then thinking to themselves, well, what we can do, whether that's of course a retailer who has their head screwed on, or indeed a big wallet or a big whale or an institution or whatever you want. Not very many of them trade in NPXS, to be perfectly honest with you. But anyway, what you're seeing there is them just kind of selling into that and allowing the price to then drop back down again so that they can, of course, ride that wave. This could change at any time. How would we know that it would change? And quite honestly, the best method in terms of just simply understanding this and seeing it in front of your eyes is going to probably be to take a look at the Fibonacci retracement points for us. If we go down past the 236, it's the same sort of story as what we talked about with regards to Telcoin and Dent. However, of course, we can see that we have various levels of support in the past and a little bit more interesting stuff to take a look at in the at the meantime. Lining up with the parabolic SAR dot on this chart is the previous low over here, and I could suppose that for this chart, just to kind of mix it up a little bit compared to what we looked at previously, I suppose it wouldn't be too far beyond me to use a few horizontal lines over here. This one, of course, being the red line. This is a very scary looking line, and it should be colored appropriately. Then we also have as well the next area for us right now to be aware of, 24-hour chart, but we can see that this is the midpoint right here between the highs and the lows overall, which is probably this high. Then previously, of course, we have the new high coming in, so this is going to drag up the way, as we can see. But we had previously we had this high and this high down here as being the two major highs and lows. So I can just show you this working in terms of that median line of the Donchian channel, so that you go away from this fully understanding how it works. In terms of the 50% area, well, it was short-lived, so it wasn't that high. It was this high. No, it wasn't that high. It was this high at this point here. Yes, for this is the last 20. Let me just get up the ruler so I can stop making a fool of myself. 20 bars back. Where do we have 20 bars back? Yes, of course, yes. So it was between these two highs here, and that's why the 50% area lines up with, of course, the median line of the Donchian channel. 50% between the high here and the low here is where that orange line was for that whole period of time there. So then, of course, going back 20 periods from this point, it cuts out this low, pushes everything up the way, and that creates a little bit of an interesting dynamic. In terms of the range that we have for us potential-wise towards the downside, of course, is a little bit bigger than just simply saying that that we could be looking back to the previous to the median line of the Donchian channel. We'd have to remember that we had a deep low here, a big retracement down the way. This is perhaps one of those opportunities where you could look to well, actually no, scrap that, just moving on. Wait, so what we want to do is take us Fibonacci, there we go, back on track, Rocky, from the lows over here at this point just here where we had that previous significant low, up to the highs that we've had so far today, and say, well, where does the 236 come in at? And of course it's very, very challenging for us, and it lines up with the previous high quite nicely. So we can put this one in here, and we can give this one maybe an orange coloring or something like that to give us the median line. Well, let's just let's give this one a green coloring actually, and we'll find an orange line in the middle of this zone to be looking to, and I'd say it's probably going to come in here at around about the 618 for us if we're going to be saying this is the next decent turnaround zone for us. And I'll just stick it in the middle of the golden pocket here, and we'll make it nice and orange for us. So we have the three key areas. Going to remove this off the chart, then that Fibonacci, and say that, you know, this is the green line that we want to stay above. A couple of reasons for it, really. As you can see, it's not too difficult to see it with your eyeballs. That we had the previous high in this area. That was a failed attempt at a nice arrow. Oh, failed attempt again. Okay, that'll do. That was our previous high in at that area. So of course, breaking this line here, which is the 236 Fibonacci, is also breaking down past our previous high, and then is going down past the previous, you know, the price action operating at a level which is lower than the previous area on the Donchin channel. So this is really just an exploration of that idea. As I look back in the charts and I show you, for instance, we had a previous area in terms of the previous high over here, and we also then came up the way as we saw in this period thereafter, and at this point over here on the charts we actually had broken, in fact it was this point in here, it was at this point in here that we broke the previous level. Really, this one here, this previous level in between times, that's all part of that upward structure. It doesn't, you can, there's only like a degree, you know, a tiny fraction of a fraction difference between those two. That's not a realistic statement to make, especially given that price action never even actually broke that line. So what we're looking at is the previous one, which was actually broken with the movement towards the top side. Looking over here and saying, well, at this point here we broke down past that previous area and drawn in the Fibonacci's from the lows more or less towards the highs more or less, and seeing that that was breaking down past the 50% area. So, you know, going back over to what we're looking at the minute and saying that if we break down past that area, could we then of course then come on down towards the 50% area? Well, yes, and with any degree of momentum at all, then your best hope for a bounce is going to be in there at that orange line looking down towards the 30474. Of course, that's a big drop off from where we are right now, and the parabolic SCR would have you staying positive on this one until such times, of course, as the prices drop down by over 60% from where they are currently. So you're looking down there towards the 303 area for that. First warning comes in at 306, and that's maybe perhaps where to look to should things not change in the meantime for your next higher low re-entry area for us. If we were to be looking at the price action operating in a sort of along a schedule like this before going up the way, that's a little bit further to the right. I don't mean that in terms of a time basis, just simply in terms of the price action movements itself. I wanted to make that the same color as the downward candle. Bring me my options. Oh, there's my options still up on screen. There's the candles down below. That's didn't work. Whatever. Whoops. This sort of an idea would be acceptable. But going obviously down towards that and before flying on up the way, that would be what you'd be looking for in that sense. That really is the technicals on these things, because of course they are the hype coins of the moment. It is of course absolutely no surprise to anybody therefore to see them occupying those top spaces as the incumbent most talked about coins of the moment on Lunar Crush. Now, coin of the day has been allocated